Hello and welcome back to the webinar series of Master Data Online Tool, the MDO application. So today we'll be covering the customer master maintenance from SAP and Salesforce perspective and experience how MDO can help ensure the data maintained in all systems is trustworthy and reliable all the time. My name is Sahil Naqvi and I manage the global product alliances with Prospecta, both for the data quality and governance tool MDO and also for the safety compliance management software WorkSafe Online or WSO. Today, what we'll be covering is an overview of MDO, the processes where MDO can help in manage the data quality from a customer master uh, uh, data perspective, both from the request initiation from MDO and also from a request initiation from other systems like Salesforce. Now, an overview of MDO, what this tool is about. Many of you might be aware of what solutions we offer, but just for people who have joined us the first time, MDO is an enterprise data platform that has solutions, out of the box solutions for SAP and Salesforce. From a perspective of SAP, it covers all the different aspects of spares and supplies and plant maintenance and customer records. It also helps in during the data migration from one version of ERP to another, S/4HANA to be more specific. And from a Salesforce perspective, MDO is making sure that the data is always consistent, clean, and with the right data governance rules, the data privacy rules applicable, and also the lead management and assignment for records. All the rules management within Salesforce doesn't need to be maintained there. It can be managed in MDO. The data syncing from Salesforce into MDO is real time and can keep checking data quality in the background in a periodic manner. Now, from a masters that MDO offer, you see in the top the different blocks. And also, there are two modes of MDO that MDO can run in. One is the passive governance, where the data entry can be through another system, and MDO can be the tool that runs in the background with all the data quality checks and validation engine, making sure that the data is always clean, consistent, and sends back to the target system with the cleansed and standardized records, and that can be consumed by a single or multiple applications or transaction systems that you have in place. From an active governance perspective, MDO becomes the tool. The request is initiated or the data is maintained. All the different business rules happen at the time of data entry itself, and then different contributors can contribute and validate data in a workflow approval process, and then it can be sent back to the source system, which can be single or multiple systems that we need to integrate with. Okay. All right, so we'll be focused in today's session. We'll focus more around the data quality and cleansing aspect of it. So the data quality workbench in MDO, which is the MDO governance framework feature, is where all the data quality is analyzed, and it gives a quantitative measure to each of the master record from as a rating for data quality. MDO can be one system for both the governance and the data quality management. It can be managed by business analysts, so administrators can set up new business rules. They can also make use of all the predefined business rules within MDO to manage that different aspects of data quality. Then we can also assign actions to account owners to perform update to master records or to cleanse and standardize master records based upon whatever data is found as inaccurate or inconsistent. MDO can also integrate with the third-party systems or third-party databases like DNB to validate records and make sure that it is verified with the right set of data. All right, so what we will do, we'll give you an example of one of the examples of the data quality engine. So MDO can have duplicate rules set up, which can be fuzzy based or exact match with exclusion rules and similar words. And what it can help in is group all the similar or duplicate items in one section. The owner, the data owner in this case, can choose which is my master record and what are the records that would be made inactive in the event of duplicate records found. We can also copy records from the potentially inactive ones to the master record, and that can automatically replace the values of the selected items. It can be at an individual value level, or we can update information into the master record directly. Okay, so why MDO for data quality management of customer records? Just a quick view on that. So it is a platform that has intelligent collaboration capabilities and intuitive data management. Comes with predefined governance rules. Can help in all kind of on-screen data validations happening at the time of data entry by business users. Or it can also call APIs for external checks. We talked about that. And then the attachment verification, you can cross-verify data from what has been uploaded in the attachments, making sure that it is all consistent with the data set provided. The data privacy compliances, who sees what set of data, who can perform what action on the various data sets, can all be managed within MDO. So it can also make sure that data privacy laws like GDPR can that process of managing customer or vendor records can be managed more accurately. And then predefined business rules. MDA comes with a list of customer master business rules that you can leverage from, and can also help build new rules within the framework. And MDO has certified integrators for SAP and Salesforce. MDO is also available on the SAP and Salesforce App Exchange or the App Center, respectively. So they can be downloaded and synced with the ERP there. Now, we look at some of the scenarios in today's quick session on MDO and MDO with SAP and Salesforce. The first building block of MDO can help become a bridge between the SAP and the Salesforce system, which can sometimes be a complex integration to achieve because of the different the data structures or data hierarchies between these two systems. MDO can help manage this data in a centralized manner, making sure that both these systems have the right quality of data coming out from MDO. And then there's sometimes limitations, the real-time checks on SAP from a CRM environment perspective, and integration is the key thing that that a lot of systems, a lot of organizations running on Salesforce and SAP as an ERP struggle with when it comes to communicating between these two systems. So MDO bridges that challenge, and how it does that, we'll look at a couple of scenarios. It's not restricted to just these two scenarios, but in this session we will look at one of the scenarios where MDO initiates this request. The initiation can happen through an onboarding form, which can be available on the website, and customers can onboard themselves directly there, or it can be through a business user within the organization, initiating a request for a new customer record. And once all the approvals and contributors contribute to that request, it can sync to both the systems, Salesforce and the MDO system. And what MDO essentially becomes is even if there are additional data for enterprise systems, MDO can be the business rule or the rule engine which will keep checking the data quality and making sure that it complies with the right set of right set of business rules that we have predefined there. Okay, so that is the component that we call the passive governance piece. So it will be a mix of both the active and passive governance components of MDO. And the second scenario is when this data is initiated in some other system. In this case, let's say the Salesforce system, where an account is first initiated. Of course, the person on the field would not sometimes have the right information, complete information, or they at times do not have the time to validate all that field data while they are entering it. So that's where a system like MDO comes into picture. They will make sure that all these data that has been filled in has the right validity, has the right completeness, and can sync to single or more than one record after approval and data checks happening within MDO. So we'll cover these two scenarios of data getting initiated first in MDO and then how data can initiate in Salesforce respectively in our quick demos. We'll get started with the scenario one, where so this is the scenario where the customers are registering themselves through a customer registration portal. This portal can be something publicly available on your website, or you can send this as a link to your potential customers to register themselves. You can have different set of attachments also that can be uploaded within this quick form. Our second scenario is when the sales agent submits this request, logging into MDO, and MDO comes to the mobile app, so the sales agents can also use the mobile app to initiate this new customer request form. As you see, a lot of fields can be defaulted based upon the location of the sales agent or the role that we assign to that MDO user, pretty much, and then duplicate check and different other validations would happen at the time of data entry itself. These validations would be at field level, making sure that the right data has been put in each of these different field sets. The drop downs would filter out based upon either the country selected or the state selected, or any other dependency that we want to maintain there. MD will validate whether it's the right email ID or not, and you can put in the contact person information, which can be multiple. If the postal code is not matching with the city, then you can get highlighted, and MD makes sure that all these different data validations would happen at the time of data entry itself. Then external data validations like the Duns and Bradstreet can also be set up. And once this request has been initiated, then it triggers a workflow. This is an internal MDO workflow from a governance perspective. Goes to different approvers to approve that request. Now, this workflow can be dynamic in nature. When you say dynamic, what we mean is depending upon certain field values or certain data entry sets, we can have single or more than one approver approving that request. So as an example, in this case, we have a field called credit limit, which the credit risk manager is putting in, and depending upon what the value of that of this field is, we can have more than one approver approving it. So in this case, you have the finance approver who has to approve anything beyond 100,000. And once this request is has been submitted by the credit risk manager, this request has to be eventually approved by the finance approval. Now, MDO has approval or workflow based upon roles. Each role will have certain field that they own. So depending upon what field data set they own, they will be able to contribute, or they will be able to put in that set of data. The other thing can be read only for them. They can only view it. They cannot edit that information. Now we're looking at different approvers approving their own set of data within the MDO forms. You have to remember that this request is still within MDO. It might have initiated from a portal or from the source, but since once that is approved by all the different approvers, is when it will integrate into target systems like SAP. We look at different approvers approving that set of data. So they will receive an alert, like an email alert that they have an action pending in their task list for a new request approval if they have the MDO mobile app installed, which is available for most smartphones, iOS and Android platforms, or smart devices. They will receive a push notification. And then in this case, this finance approver is approving because of the credit limit that we have put in there. And you can review all the set of data and put in things like payment terms and terms of payment, right? And there can be a master data manager that we can also additionally add into the process flow. But the idea is that different set of approvers approve their own fields that they manage, and once all the approvers have approved this is when the request hits SAP, and without any manual transaction, this record is created in the target system SAP with the right set of data validations. So all the data validations happened at the time of data entry and gave contributors or approvers the option of improvising or putting in the right set of information for this customer record. And eventually what we get is cleansed and approved information into the SAP system. Now, MD also have what we call the GDPR request form, where both the vendors or customers can request for raise a request to the data protection officer. They can put in the reason why they want to raise that request, or it can be a request for deleting them, a right to be forgotten, all their information around that particular user of the customer, or the customer itself can be requested through this request form. And what happens is when this is requested, that the DPO, which is the data protection officer within the organization, will receive a request, a GDPR request, and then they can act upon it accordingly. So from filling up this form, they have a request showing up in their task list. And once the request has been executed, is when they can approve it, and the requester gets notified that the request has been executed in the customer's system now, or in the organization system here. All right, so this is where MDO can help as a front-end tool or as a governance plus data quality system put together. Then we look at the other scenario where this data initiation can be some other system. And MDO is making sure that all the business rules and checks, including things like lead assignment management, can be done through MDO. So we look at how that is done. First of all, we'll have a if you're looking at Salesforce, then this is a new record that has been created or a lead created in Salesforce with a lead owner. In this case, the lead owner is this user Kevin. If MDO has been subscribed from Salesforce, you see the tab of MDO, and you also can have the single sign-on enabled. So when you click on Get Started, the user can directly land into the MDO screen. What will happen in this case is if you look at the same record now and who's the owner assigned, it may or may not change. What it means is if it is assigned already to the right owner, it would not change. But if it ideally should have been assigned to this user Charles here, then that information would get updated from MDO and sent back to Salesforce. So if you look at the list of leads now, this has been changed to a different user. Now, as an output, this may look a very simple process, but there can be a single or more than one factors which might be managing or which might be influencing who should be the lead owner. So MDO can help manage those complex scenarios or those combination of scenarios very effectively, very easily for the business rule managers to manage that. So we look at how MDO can do that. So we're looking at one of the examples here. So remember, we are looking at one of the sample examples of how MDO rule engine can manage these rules. These are the list of rules. So each of these record that you see is one rule, and we look at how MDO can help manage these rules. Now we'll put up a rule description. So in this case, there is a combination of country, state, zip code, and the product of interest for as a criteria based upon which the lead has to be assigned. So you can see whether it's an inclusion rule or an exclusion rule. Okay, we can of course assign these rules one by one, or we can upload these combinations in an Excel itself. So this is an example where if it's more than one locations or more than one zip code, we can upload all of that into an Excel directly. The list of territories, you can also browse through the saved Excel and upload that. So all of that would all the different combinations will get listed here in MDO. The product of interest can be again defined whether it's inclusion rule or an exclusion rule. So inclusion means that if it is one of the selected ones, the rule engine should capture it or include it. We can have single or more than one that can be selected there. So with this different data set, we say that this is one rule, and where should this request flow now? So this can be an optional thing that we can have an approver approving every new business rule that we set up in MDO. If we need an approval, it will flow that request to the approver before it comes into effect in MDO for the lead assignment, or it can directly be set up by the data stewards or the Salesforce administrators in this case, with a better UI, easy to manage UI for managing these rules and rule engines. Once this rule has been approved is when it comes into effect, and there's no other setting or action required. What it means is now if there is a new lead created in Salesforce, the that will be directly synced into MDO and assigned based upon the rule that we have maintained. MDO also gives options of copying these rules. So there could be scenarios where the rule will differ only slightly. So we can copy it from one of the existing ones and create another rule there. And of course, we can have an option of changing an existing rule by going to a particular rule, and the change form would appear where we can select what changes we have to make to that rule. So both for copy and change, again, we can optionally have a workflow approval around it. All right, so this is the part where we can manage the leads through MDO. Now the entire assignment of rules can be done through the Excel interface of MDO, which we call the Excel Connect. So in this case, what we're doing is we are predefining a variant, a search variant, so that the user knows that if it is for a particular country or for a particular geography, we can predefine that, and only those records will should appear in the Excel interface of MDO. Now, what this is it is an Excel skin on top of MDO, making sure that all the different validations, workflows, and rule engines that we have defined would come into effect when things are maintained within this Excel form. Now, this is a completely offline version of the Master Data Online application. People can work on this Excel Connect even when they're not connected to the internet, like when they're traveling or they're on a flight. So what it does is we have the list of all the rules now showing up for Europe and North America, because we have saved that as a variant. We can make changes to this this list of rules, what we call the bulk changes or mass changes, and within the single Excel. We can also add new rules within this form, within this view. So the entire management can happen through an Excel interface now. And the question arises whether the codes or whether the combinations that we are putting in are valid entries or not. So that's where MDO will validate all of this information when before uploading that back into MDO. So this validation is as I mentioned, this is an offline functionality. So it's referring to the MDO metadata and the rule engine, making sure that all these different combinations of codes and different combination of rules here are validated. So we can have multiple. So this is where complex rules can be made simpler, or the management of complex rules can be much more easier. When we validate it, we will know that which are the records that does not have the right code or does not have the right combination, and what needs to be corrected in there. Example, an invalid code for state, or wherever the key information like country is missing, that gets highlighted. And once this is validated successfully is when we can upload that. So uploading it is syncing it back to the MDO system. And then we can also trigger workflow if required for these set of changes that we have done. Now, because we have performed this in a bulk request, the approval can also be like a mass approval. So you can look at the total 3 items within this request. 2 of them have changed. We can You can filter it out of what records have been changed with the yellow highlight. You can look at what was the old value, what is the new value for these items that have been changed there. Now, the business scenario doesn't need to be exactly the same. The idea is that the complex, they picked up a complex rule management part and explained how easy it is to set it up there. Now let's look at how the whole data quality is managed within MDO. So this is a view for data stewards or Salesforce administrators within MDO, where they can perform the action of maintaining different rule engines or schemas within MDO. So schema is a set of business rule, and you can execute it based upon geographies or based upon different locations. What we're looking at is the output of running a schema. We'll come to know that how many records have, let's say, invalid postal code or invalid phone number, or doesn't match. Some of the entries doesn't match accurately. Now, what you're looking at is a quantitative score for data quality. Now, this comes in based upon the weightage that we provide to each of the business rule in MDO. Now, while it is a very qualitative output, based upon this weightage, we can identify a quantity and have a rating that how many records have more than 60% or 70% of data quality, and get an assessment on that. Now let's look at how we perform all of these settings. But just before that, if there is a discrepancy found, this can be directly updated in the MDO UI. We can assign this action to the respective owners to approve it. But in reality, there could be many records to be cleansed or standardized. That's why we have this Excel interface or Excel Connect functionality again for mass corrections or mass changes that can be done offline and can be done in bulk. So user will log into the Excel form of MDO. They'll make changes to wherever there is anything inconsistent or inaccurate in the existing set of data. They'll modify that. And that can be validated and sent back to MDO. So yeah, that's for how we manage the data quality. And then another widely used example is the duplicate check functionality of MDO. So MDO offers first of all a robust feature to identify what are potential duplicates. Could be based upon fuzzy logic or an exact match. And once that has been set up, what you're looking at is a schema based upon potential duplicates. We can add variants to it. Adding variants means on what conditions, on what data set this should run on. You can select the value for account group, for example, in this case, and run that schema. Now, when you look at this this output, it's clubbing together all the potential duplicates into one group, and giving the data steward or the data owners an option of identifying what is the master record out of the identified potential duplicates. You can perform a manual merge, which means that they are identifying or selecting which is the record to be chosen as the master, and what are the data sets that needs to be copied from from the other potential identified, or they can even have the option of updating it directly into this record. So that creates one master record for all the potentially identified records. The other records in this case would become inactive. No actions can be performed further on those records. And also this listing would stop after we have taken an action against the potential duplicates in this case. Now on the administrator side, this is the part where the business analyst who would be assigned the MDO administrator role, they are able to manage all these different rules at an initial level and define weightage and what are the different type of rules. So if you look at the rule types, the dependencies and API rules and duplicate check rules, all of these are predefined type of business rules, which can be selected, and that gets defined as one part of the schema or one of the business rules. Within that schema, when we run that, you can give a description to that and what is the category of this, whether it's a completeness, accuracy, validness, timeliness, or transformation, consistency kind of rule that can be classified, what fields that we want to run this rule for. Now you can see that there are regular expressions available for some of these normally used kind of business rules. Now you look at the weightage. So this is the weightage that would give us a numerical rating for the data quality score that comes out of running the data quality rule engine. We can define for each of these, and we can also schedule a schema that we want to run that, keep it running all the time, making sure that every time a new record is synced, it gets highlighted to the right people that there is a new item that has some kind of discrepancy and action needs to be taken around it, or we can run that, perform that periodic basis. That's where scheduling that, and of course making it active and inactive at different stages of time. Right, so that's what we wanted to cover and give you a glimpse of what MDO is capable of when it comes to the SAP and Salesforce integrated customer master management. Now, we've looked at only a couple of scenarios of how MDO can help in that aspect. There are multiple other scenarios that we'll keep covering in our subsequent webinars. But just to mention that our webinar series, previous webinar series, is also available on our YouTube channel. You can search by Master Data Online and subscribe for the channel as well for keep getting notifications of new demos getting added to there. If you need anything specific, any other specific questions around the customer master management of MDO, you can write to us at sales@prospecta.com. You can also visit our website to learn more about MDO. We will look forward to any feedback on this session or any queries that you might have. And thank you all for joining us on this weekend, and hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead with you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye-bye.